Click the button there. So we are live on Facebook. If you are streaming with us, I greatly appreciate seeing you. We're live on YouTube. We're waiting right now to go live on IG. So welcome to the Crown by Nichele podcast. I am your host, Ryan N. Jenkins. And I have to show off that I can do things now because I couldn't do this stuff before. So welcome to the Crown by Nichele podcast. We greatly appreciate you coming to us, with us. And if you have any questions, definitely put in the comments. So I'm going to give you some announcements at the end because there's so much I want to discuss right now. So I want to get right into it. So before I even get into the purpose of this podcast, and matter of fact, let me backtrack. So I was following already Juggy, who some of you know as STEFON BOWMAN, and following what he was doing. And I noticed when they started these literacy workshops. And as I was coming up with guests and whatnot, and for those of you who have been watching, I've already had one of my former students, Tony Richbow, come on here representing Black male teachers, trying to get more Black teachers in the classroom. And we may touch on that. But what I love what they are doing is they are literally having financial workshops with their students. So I said, I need to bring them on and speak to them more about this, because what I hope will happen is it will spark inspiration within all of us, because we keep saying the kids need to learn how to deal with money. First of all, it needs to start at home. But then let's take home out of it, because if I don't know how to deal with money, how am I going to teach my child how to deal with money? So that's what I love about their workshop, is the fact that they have parents and students. So that way the parents can get right to help the students get right, and it just goes from there. But I want to read some statistics to you before I get into their introduction. So when it comes to Black wealth, they said it has increased between 2019 and 2022, where they saw a 60% increase in median net worth, which is the largest increase in any racial group. But again, it has not significantly reduced the wealth gap. Compared to white wealth in 2022, the median wealth gap households is $44,900, while the median wealth of white households is $285,000. Okay, that means our households held about 15.8 median wealth to white households. When it comes to this number just blew me out the water. In 2022, the median wealth of non-white, Latino, Hispanic households was $62,000, while the median wealth of Asian American households is $536,000. Okay, and then as far as housing is concerned, at first I wasn't going to bring this up, but I felt a need to bring this up. Housing, we account for 43.8% of housing among our demographics, and I feel like that's so important, because if you don't have your credit right, you don't have your money right, you can't even think about getting a house. So that's why I think what they're doing is so important. And then the last stat is, which I thought we were on the list by now, but apparently we're not. When you deal with the wealthiest Americans from Forbes, we're not in the top 50. Okay. So what I love about these brothers here is they're actually doing something to help what I believe is reversing the curse. So both of them are teachers, which I think is awesome sauce. And both of them doing awesome, dope things. I'm going to let them further introduce themselves, where they teach, what they teach, and then we'll just go from there.
Okay, certainly. Well, thank you again, Ryan, for having us both on. We really appreciate the opportunity to spread the message of financial literacy to a wider audience. I'll go ahead and start. My name is Winston Roberts. I currently teach high school and I teach high school financial literacy at Foundation Academy in Trenton, New Jersey, and I also serve as the AI innovation lead there as well. We'll start there, and then let STEFON go, and then we'll give the whole intro story that we create after that.
All right, so hello, Ryan. Thank you for having me also, by the way. And I'm still just going to claim Claflin Flam. I'm just going to run with that. I don't care what nobody says. Shout out to South Carolina, But I am STEFON BOWMAN. I am a middle school financial literacy teacher. I teach essentially 6th through 8th, but I see the whole building at Kit Team Academy, aka the flagship in Newark, New Jersey.
All right, awesome sauce. So again, the purpose of this show is to spotlight their awesome program that they have created called Financially Fit, which fits it. I'm saying it right?
Financially lit.
Lit. Oh Jesus, lit, which will give you the luxury, Ryan. So financially lit, which LIT is luxury is teachable, which I think is so dope. So they started this program almost a year ago, and I want to spotlight them and what they've done with it. Hopefully to spark some of you to do this within your schools. I know me personally, I won't necessarily do the program, but I definitely learning with my girls that I mentor. I need to do more money matters, something to do with money. Because these kids don't know how to manage money. So my first question to you is, where did this idea come from? Like, when did y'all decide? Like, where did it come from, and how did it materialize?
Sure. So it really started, I mean, I think STEFON and I were both math teachers at the same network for a while, teaching fifth grade math. So we would see each other in professional development sessions and everything. And, you know, in the midst of, after teaching math for about 6 years, I kept hearing, you know, during the pandemic, I kept hearing all these statistics, and I saw these financial posts on social media, and all the comments were the same. Every comment was, wow, why didn't somebody teach me this in school? I wish somebody taught me this in school. So I had this crazy idea, like, why don't we just teach this in school? So I went to my principal at the time and pitched it and said, look, this is, you know, something that I want to teach. I want to make sure that kids are getting the skills that they need to manage their money for the rest of their life. My principal at the time said, okay, go for it. So that's where I started teaching. I did a pilot program the year beforehand with 10 students on Zoom. And then we expanded to the 400 students that were at Kip Bold Academy. And then from there, STEFON came in and said, like, okay, I'm teaching financial literacy too. We need to do this together. We don't need to be in separate silos and everything like that. We need to work on this together. And also, so another piece, I'm putting my HBCU out there, Morehouse College.
I was waiting. I just want you to know, I was waiting. I was quietly like,
I was gonna let y'all have your platform moment, but Morehouse is in the building as well. But the fact that we're, you know, two Black men, both teaching math, we were in the same network at the time, both had a passion for making sure that kids had the skills to, you know, compete in the real world, and we're HBCU graduates, it didn't make sense for us to not work together. So even though I had envisioned this as a class, STEFON came in and said, this is really bigger than just a class. This is an entire movement. This is something that we need to incorporate the entire community with. And so I was thinking, like, I thought I was thinking big. I was thinking about this big. STEFON was thinking like on another level. So I'm just so fortunate and grateful that we've been able to collaborate on this together, because he's turned something that I thought was, you know, something really I thought something was big, and he took it to a level even bigger to involve the community and have this whole idea of compound impact, which he can talk more about what that means.
You want me to run with the question, or you want to?
No, you can answer that. Yeah.
I think so we met years ago when we first came to KIP, and like we always just like clicked. And at that time, you know, when you walked into KIP, if you saw somebody that looked like you and you were like, where'd you go to college? And both of you say HBCUs, is like automatic brotherhood. And especially for me, I'm originally from South Carolina, so me being up north, naturally when I see the South, anybody from the South, oh, we're here. So me and Winston were like clicked up from the beginning. And it just so happened when I had the idea to teach financial literacy at my school, they told me Winston was teaching financial literacy. I was like, Winston? Like, they taught math? And his school was a mile away from me. And I was like, can I go? So when I walked in, within the first 10 minutes, I just like tapped him and I was like, this is it. Like, we're doing it. So I think we're in collaboration with both of us. We're very similar, but we're also very different in both of our personalities. But with our mixture, that's really what makes this works. And we both believe in the community. And naturally, like we have very strong relationships with our students. You know, shout out to my financially lit students at KIP and at Bow and everybody else. But same thing with Winston. So that's really what makes us thrive. It's not us. It's really with the kids, the parents, and like the relationships that we have with them.
So let me make sure I get this clear. This is a course that both of y'all teach.
Yes. So it's an initiative, but also we have a curriculum for it.
Okay.
So we host family events. We are out in the community, still trying to get more out into the community and build awareness. But then also Monday through Friday we teach it as a class.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Because the part that I saw, and maybe that was the class that I saw, but there was something I'm going to get into in a second. There was an after school workshop that y'all just recently did with investing. I saw that.
Yes.
So, yes. And then the market, we're going to get into all that in a second.
Yes.
So what has been, I guess, the reception from the students, the reception from the parents, like what's been their response to this program?
I think they feel the realness. So it's more than just a class, because I like to tell my students and remind them that hey, yes, this is very important. Like when you look at financial literacy, but also this is different from your math class, your ELA class, your science class, because the goal and our intent every day that we step into class, we want to give you some kind of tool, some kind of strategy, something to put at least $1 in your pocket. And if you can just literally leave our class and you go save $20, imagine if you do that for a course of a year. Imagine what you can learn, imagine what you could take home to your family, imagine what impact that really could have. So that's really what is the thing for both of us, and in different ways also.
Just to add on to that, I think when I first started teaching this, I thought initially, oh, it's going to be way more interesting than math. It's going to be way more applicable. Kids are going to love it because it's going to apply directly to their lives. And I was surprised that at first it wasn't like they were just readily willing to accept it. It was like, okay, this is another class. I'm in school. What's different about this? So I was offended. I was like, what do you mean? This is
the audacity.
But I'm appreciative of that, of them, being so authentic and giving me that, real-time feedback, because it forced me and it forced Stefan and I both to rethink how we're teaching it. We very quickly realized from the feedback that we were getting from the kids that this can't be a normal course. This can't be just you're copying down the definition of a budget. I think there's a lot of great financial literacy initiatives out there and a lot of programs out there, but I think the mistake that they're making is it's just here's what a budget is. Here's what it means to invest. Here's what interest is. But what differentiates us is we try to create these experiences in class. So I think one of the things that Stefan and we had collaborated on was for our budgeting unit, instead of us, okay, here's a budget, 50, 30, 20, here's what you're going to do. What we did was we created a case study and of a high school student. We named him.
Shout out to Jalen, man. Shout out to Jalen.
And he's making a little bit of money as a high school student, working part-time, but he also has a goal of buying a PlayStation 5 and sneakers. And instead of us, having them copy down the definitions, we said, hey, you guys as financial consultants have to get in groups and come up with a plan to help Jalen get to his PlayStation 5 and sneaker goal in a reasonable amount of time, but not cut everything out and make it something that's actually going to help him out. So at the same time, they're getting to experience what it would mean to make reasonable cuts for his budget, but also help him get there. And it's providing access for every student that's in the classroom. So even if I'm a student coming in and I'm not as strong at math, I still have to present it. So maybe I'm really good at design and art and I have an eye for art and everything. I can help, design the slide deck. If I really like being in the front, then I can, help do the pitch. I can present. If I'm really good at, if I am really good at the math, we've had kids, 8th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, putting together Excel sheets and graphs and charts and everything. So everybody has a chance to access the lesson, but walks away with, okay, this is what it means to have to budget, which we think is a much more powerful experience than you sitting down copying a definition for 60 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And also another aspect that makes it work, the current group of kids that we teach, they have to feel like they can believe you. What you say in front of them, they have to believe wholeheartedly that you did that. So for instance, in my class, Juggy Kicks is my sneaker business / personal brand, but I actually use real-time things that I have to go through with my business. So for instance, when I presented a budget, I had to explain how I actually even make my t-shirts, if I make my hoodies, I had to go buy all this. And if I'm thinking of a budget, I still have real-time things going on. Like I had to go teach, I had to drive my car. So like again, a budget is much more than just what you see on definition of paper. And in order for you to actually be on a budget, you also have to throw in like the mental aspect. Like you have to actually have some sort of discipline. You also have to realize that like a budgeting, yes, it's a thing, but also it's a skill. And it's something that like you have to continuously work on. So it's like it's an added layer. And like when we flush it out and like we actually get kids talking about it, you actually see the kids talking about, no, you don't need to spend all your money on that. Like, no, give me your money. So like you actually see that, and like that's really what we want to happen. That's the real impact.
Now, being that you teach middle school, is your class all year long? Is it only for a semester?
So last year when we first piloted at my school, 7th and 8th, it was only for 7th and 8th grade, and they actually got to choose their class, like choose which class they wanted to take. So I had them for about 2 quarters, which was like half a semester. But this year I have 6th and 7th grade. I teach the entire grade, but each quarter is a different class. And then my 8th graders this year got to actually choose. So I have a cohort of them, and I have them till about January, February, and then I get a new select group then. But I also have a homeroom in 5th grade, so like I'm all over the building. So essentially everybody's financially lit. Like if you have a relationship with me, you financially lit. They know.
And then on the same end for me, when I was teaching it at the middle school, then they had a rotational basis where they would take me every quarter. So they would take me for 1 quarter out of the year. So I'd have a group of kids for first quarter, second quarter, and so on. And now at the school that I'm at Foundation Academy in Trenton, New Jersey, I teach a group. It's a blended group of like 10th and 11th graders, really. And I teach them 3 days a week. And then so it'll be for the semester. And then next semester, starting in like mid-January, I'll teach another group of kids who have elected into it as part of their requirement.
And when you say 3 days a week, am I right? Is that like an AB schedule?
Right, AB schedule for us.
Yeah. For those you are not familiar with those terms, so I remember doing that in middle school at one point. So what I love also for you to promote the after school activities, I noticed how y'all use the students, and you broke it down so it wasn't just students doing a video. You taught them this is marketing. So can you explain exactly what their response was to it and why'd you feel a need to tailor it that way?
So as context, we were like we planned like our first workshop, and me and Winston were like on FaceTime. We were like, all right, so this is what we're gonna do. I was like, all right, we gotta get a flyer. And then he was sitting there, and it's us two, and like sometimes we have to get assistance in terms of design. So we like it's us two, so we like laughing like I don't know if that's right. Let's try this. So I was sitting there and I was like, bro, we gotta like market this. He was like, oh yeah, like he wrote it down on the to-do list, and I was sitting there and I was like, we might as well just teach the kids, like we got to learn some of this stuff too. And he was like, all right, like let me know. So we went on designing the flyer. So essentially I like started doing my own research, and like I also in my pastime, like I also look up stuff like that. I'm a big nerd, so I like just watching podcasts about that. So I was like, well, let's just go ahead and start applying it. And I started teaching it to my 7th and 8th graders, and you like started seeing light bulbs went off. And then I was like, well, we got a social media page too. Like, let's just build it out. And like the kids, they love it. And I have an Instagram, but like I'm terrible at TikTok. So they were like, Ms. Bowman, we got to make a TikTok. And I was like, y'all gonna TikTok, not me. So like from there we started like teaching the marketing, and then like the ideas just started getting flushed out. And like I remember at one point I had my 8th grader sitting on top of the desk, and we were like, all right, so like what you think would like make kids like your age actually get to the event? And they were like, well, we gotta have food. And I was like, all right, well, we gonna have to get food. And like from there, every event is like that's them, they help out. So like I even like go behind the scenes, and like once we post content that they use, and like it's usually the students that like are the most impactful, like the ones that like actually like they're paying attention. So like that's kind of like their motivation. But then also behind the scenes, when we post the content, we actually look at like the analytics. So we actually go behind the scenes, and it was like, hey, we had like one reel, I think it had like 12,000 views. And they were like, 12,000 views? Like, what? We did that, it was 30 seconds. I was like, right. But like also when you like break it down, like look at the views like look at the city where it's coming from. It's coming from Newark. So like this is the impact that we talk about. Like we've consistently been making videos. Like now imagine if we like take this to a whole nother level and like we start with those conversations. So it's all like a learning experience for not only for myself, not only for Winston, but like also with the student. And like you see it over the course of time that like they start getting it.
And I think Stefon's also being modest here too, because the idea for like building out the Instagram and everything, like in the social media and the marketing aspect, that came from him. Again, I was thinking like, okay, let's just do this class, and he was like, no, we need to get on social media. We need to make an Instagram. We need to make a TikTok. And I think what was powerful about that is when I was going to my students, and of course, I'm coming back in there. I've been there for a little while. I've got this brand identity and business as a teacher in a suit. And then I walk in on day one. Oh, here he go again. And I was like, oh, got you, right? So remember how last year was 400 of us that we're doing all this again? We've now expanded the team academy. Y'all know Mr. Bowman. So they see me in my suits, but then they see him and he's flying. He's got, all the latest sneakers and everything like that. And I'm showing them, oh, he's got an actual business and he's doing this and he's doing this. And they're like, wait, word? So even if they don't want to listen to me or they don't want to hear it from me, they're going to hear it from him. And then we started doing things where I was like, you know what? You get on Zoom and you talk to my kids, or he might say, you get on Zoom and you talk to my kids. And we got to build this momentum. So the marketing aspect helps build momentum. So I'm able to say, here's our, like the first time, here's our Instagram. They're like, oh, it only got, 10 followers. I was like, okay, all right. Watch. And then like a couple months later, they're like, how many followers does that have now? Oh, that's got 200 now. Oh, interesting. And then we start showing the videos and show the reach that we have, and we start showing the analytics. And now, again, so the kids that I was teaching were like, "Oh wow, this." I kept telling them every day, I'm like, "What you're doing in this class is important." And it comes to a certain point where I don't have to say anything anymore. They see it. They see the momentum. They see the movement that we're generating, and that's what was so great about the expansion. About what Stefon brought to this is like really taking it to the next level, because the kids are getting to see like, yes, there's this vision, but it's bigger than what you got. Like this, what we're doing is bigger than just you in this class. So if you're, not participating, if you're not bringing your best self and everything, this is the direction we're moving. And it's clear that we're expanding. So, and that encourages kids to bring their best selves in, because they're like, you know what, I want to be a part of this.
Right. And then we also like this year, like after the first year, we have like kids that have like real own businesses. Like they have Instagram pages. They do like the business cards. They got the signs with the flyers with like the Cash App. So like when we host events, like our push and like we try and ensure that we at least have like one or two or at least as many vendors as we can from like within Financially Lit. And like when these kids go make money, it's like, hey, you can't make this up. Like they were there. Y'all saw. So like we are talking, like you can literally leave this class and like go apply the things that we're talking about and like it actually come back and benefit you like tomorrow. So that's really what we want, impact.
And then just to stamp to talk about getting every single kid involved, when we're putting the marketing aspect in there, the kid who might not be interested, who still might be like, you know what, this whole money thing ain't for me. They might have an eye for marketing. They might have an eye for TikTok. They might have an eye for social media. And they're like, oh, wait, no, if we're asking like, what's going to help people to watch this video because people are scrolling in the first 5 seconds of a video, what would help? Then they're tuned in. They're like, oh, wait, maybe we could try this. Maybe you guys could try this. And now it's like the Trojan horse their way into, wanting to learn more about the content.
Right. And also, so like, just so you know, Ryan, all the content that we post, like 9 times out of 10, that's coming from one of our students.
That's just I believe it, because I
yeah, like like so like last year we had like 2 like full on every event, 2 videographers, photographers. Like we have a couple this year, but like because of like the schedule change, like those were just 2 kids. Like I taught them from 5th grade on, so like I knew them. Like I would literally just walk in the room. I had like one phone for like my sneaker business, and I had like my other regular phone. I would just hand them the phones, and like I just start teaching. And like from there, we would just clip up the videos, and that's really what it blew up to. So we teach. It's more than just financial literacy. So like it's entrepreneurship. It's like life skills. It's like little marketing skills that people like go pay thousands of dollars for. It's like you actually getting experience working the camera. You looking at like social media analytics. So like it's so much within one bucket.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. Because matter of fact, When I was a teacher, there was this course called AVID, which stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And we would have to recruit kids for the following school year. So I remember one year, and that's when cell phones were allowed. Like now they've been banned. The kids are in such crisis right now, but they'll be okay. But before that, I will let my teachers know in the hallway and my admin, they're going to have their phones. But the videos they came out with to recruit those kids blew my mind to the point. We did a viewing party and they got Oscars that they won and whatnot. So, and they really like put a lot of heart and detail into it. And that's something I strongly recommend teachers. If you try your best to incorporate what they already use, they may not be able to use their phone depending on what school district you're in. If they have some type of device, electronic device, I know we have Chromebooks and they can record from the Chromebook. Whatever they can use, you'd be surprised what these kids come up with. So you touched on something that I was going to harp on later, but I want to go ahead and talk about it. The Mother's Day market. So tell me about that.
You started because you get the context.
You head out because again, another great idea brought to you by Stefan. Like we were sitting around and he had this idea of, again, involving the community. And he's like, oh, it's like a sneaker convention, but we just bring in businesses. And I was like, okay, like I'm not really sure. So he lead on it and it blew up. So I'll let you go from there. But it was incredible.
So Winston is crazy. So Winston was like we were trying to figure out what we were gonna do. Like we were like, all right, it's time for an event, and we like homed in on like Mother's Day. It was like, oh, that's perfect. We love our mama. Mother's Day, perfect. Mm-hmm. So like in the conversation, he mentioned something about a market that was like going on at his school. Like I think the PTA was putting it on. And I was like, market?
Monday night market. Yeah, that's
a Monday night market. And I'm like a huge sneakerhead. So like with Jeggy Kicks, like I go to sneaker conventions. Like I have a bunch of sneakers. Like the kids know, like it's just something that I've always loved. Shout out to my mama Bonnie. Thank you. But so I've like gone to these sneaker events and like I'm a people person. So like I go to sneaker events and like people know me. They know like so I have like real relationships with some of my vendors. Like so it's like a whole almost like family brotherhood type thing. So he said market and I was like, I wonder we could make something like a sneaker convention, but like why don't we just have vendors from like the kids? We have like some of the kids' businesses, they families have businesses, or like we'll just invite some other businesses from like from Newark, and we could just all be in the gym. It'd be a family event, put some money in some people's pockets, give people exposure, and like we just have a financial literacy day. He was like, what is a sneaker convention? So like I had to like pull up like me at he didn't know what it looked like. So like I like pulled up some of my pictures and he was like, so like on the table? I was like, yeah, but like you don't necessarily have to have shoes. Like I wouldn't even have a table. And he was like, you gonna have a table? Nah, no. Like I might put like t-shirts or something, but like I'm not doing sneakers. So came up with the idea and like we flushed it out. And when we said it with the kids and we were like, hey, at this point, like this is the vision. And if you have a business, we got like 2-3 weeks before it's like May. Once you get to like May, you gotta be like, you either got it or you don't. So like we had some kids end up thinking of names. Like we did like background on like how we even came up with our own businesses names. And then we started reaching out to like the school communities, the parents that we already knew. We sent out like different ads and like we asked people to like tag people from within the community. And before you knew it, we had over 75 vendors sign up. So yeah. So the day that they had it was a very special event for me too, because my mom actually got to like come up. So it was like lit, no pun intended, lit Mother's Day. So on that day we had 75 different vendors. About 30 to 40 of them were actual students from within my middle school, all the middle schools and elementary schools. We had parents that were like parents of students, had vendor tables. We had friends of we had actual alumni of KIPP schools, like from KIPP high schools that graduated. We had them have vendors. We had some food places. We had bank vendors. we had financial advisors, we had candy, we had jewelry, we had personal brands, Mother's Day, yeah, baskets. We had cheesecake, we had banana pudding. We had like teachers that had businesses that had tables. We had the news come out. I think it was News 12 and News 5. And it literally was from 11 to 1. And well, technically 12 to 2, but vendors could set up from like 11 to 12. So like it was a 3-hour event. But like if you were in the gym, it was a whole different type of energy. Like you had, and like one thing that we had the first hour while vendors were setting up, we had our students actually have to go interview some of the vendors. So like that first hour, they were not only, so like they were not only like helping out like the vendors, like carrying their stuff, but like they were actually being able to like develop relationships with them and like ask them certain questions. And like some of the vendors like, nobody ever asked me that before. Like, what? That's a good, like, come back and talk. Like, let me think about that. So like it was cool. And like in that event, like I know I saw some of my students that like they're the students that like in certain classes they're going to be the quiet ones that they won't really speak up, but because they were like, yo, I'm serious about learning financial literacy, and like, wait, these vendors, real life business people. All right, I'm just gonna ask my 3 questions. I'm gonna go. But like from that, they got comfortable and like you saw them in a different light, because I know me and Mr. Roberts were like all over the gym setting up. Like, so the kids really took it and ran with it. Like we had kids at the front door welcoming people, and like literally we had them with the sign-in list, a laptop, and they did that. Like they told them like they were telling vendors where they were sitting. So like a lot of things came from it, and like everybody had a different experience, but it was all under the essence of like, hey, this is a special day, not only because it's Mother's Day, but like we're talking about money. Like we're giving back in the community. And like we had kids that like I remember I had one student, Mary. Like Mary sold out, and Mary almost tackled me because she was like, Mr. Bowman, I sold out. Like, oh my God. And like to see her like that excited, like, and I taught her for like years, and like that kind of like put it, even for me, like I was thankful and appreciative, because I never would have thought like us just like, let's just have a Mother's Day market. Like that was very powerful even for me, and it gave me more of a why. So that was just beautiful to see.
The final count was 287 people that attended. And on top of that, and we just talked about, was not the only one that sold out their table.
It was multiples. It was multiple.
So when you just think about the impact, going back to what STEFON was just saying, the impact of at 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you leave out of middle school already having taken a business idea and sold out of your table. Just think about how impactful that is, walking into high school knowing that I've started a business already, and I can create value and deliver a product that people want. And now just imagine like how that just reframes your entire high school experience, reframes your college experience, reframes how you see life at this point. And that's what, I think, what we were really trying to aim for in terms of creating this movement and making sure that kids, again, aren't just copying down definitions, aren't just clicking through a portal, but experiencing these things firsthand so that they can take these lessons and pass them on to the community.
So, I mean, the wheels are just turning for me, because I'm just thinking about last year I performed at a Black History program, and it was a lot of, they had vendors, you could tell they were part of the community, and they were mostly parents, probably, if I'm not mistaken. But the fact that if they had opened it up to children, because I was surprised. I don't know what year it hit, but I remember, and she's a 10th grader now. In 6th grade, she was already braiding hair. Like she already had clients. Okay. What? So imagine, yes. And the girl.
We had hairdressers too at the Mother's Day market. Yeah, kids so doing hair. Like,
to be in a financial literacy course that can help you budget and learn certain things is just blowing my mind right now, because I don't know if that was her year that she came in 6th grade or the year before, but the number of kids, when we went around and asked them what they like to do, what their passion, some of them already tell me, oh, Miss Jiggles, I already have a business, I do such and such, and I do this. I'm just like, you're 12. Like, okay, I got it. So let's also speak. You just had a session on investing. So how was that, and what was your purpose? I know to talk about investing, but what kind of did y'all cover, and what was the reception like on that one?
So zooming out a little bit, the Financially Lit really is based on 5 core tenets, because we don't want to like overcomplicate, what it is, because even though finances can be complicated that people make it needlessly complex in order to keep certain people out. So we try to boil it down to these, core tenets or these luxury teachable tips, or LIT tips as we call them. Number one is don't get caught up chasing wants. Needs come first. So it's like needs before wants. 2 is create a budget for your money. 3 is save 10% for a rainy day. 4 is invest. Your money should work for you. And 5 is borrowed money must be paid back with interest. So our first financial literacy night, we did tips 1 and 2, basically, right. And then this one we did tip 4, invest, your money should work for you. And we wanted to basically again, we're not financial advisors. We don't have those credentials. We're teachers. But what we specialize is in taking things that seem complex and making it easier to understand, and using the things that we were taught growing up, either through family or through life experience, whatever it is, and just transferring that to the next generation, the rest of the community. So with the investing workshop that we did, we wanted to take this idea of investing, and I think it was kind of me who, like, again, STEFON was like, I want to do this investing for the workshop, and I was over here thinking, as a lawyer in another life, thinking I'm not trying to get sued. I don't want somebody coming back talking about I put my money in whatever and you told me to, so it's your fault. I was like, no, we don't want that. So what we wanted to talk about investing through the concepts that we're teaching in class, but then we also brought in the experts from within the community, financial advisors, fiduciaries, my own, financial advisor, people who could come in and actually speak as experts on these topics as well, after kind of given the overview, and where people could ask the direct questions. Also as a check on us, like, hey, if we get something wrong, y'all, the experts, let us know. And we had a panel discussion there too, and in addition to that conversation. So just really opening conversation about investing.
And I think also we were very intentional, because like we didn't want it just to be like generally about investing. It was like, hey, one thing that like we want to stamp all the time with, like, we want students to, if you're a part of the class, like if you're in class, we're talking about these topics, we want you to take what you're learning, take it home to your family. You have those discussions. And like, let's say if you had that discussion in my household and we have another student going home having it in Winston's household. Now, over time, those conversations start getting more consistent. Now, the next push is not only take it from the classroom home, but now we're all in one community. So like, imagine the power that, like, if we start consistently building on top of these conversations, now they're going to start spreading out, and eventually everything is going to connect. And then now you have a whole cohort of people with like-minded goals, like-minded like interests. And like, now that's where we really see like change happening. So that's really what we were pushing. So in terms of the investing event, it was like, yes, we're going to tell you what we're teaching the students, like the basic concepts, but like also we want these experts here to not only just answer your general questions, but like, how can we actually make the impact? Like, how can we get people to start now? Like in these, like our families, how can we get them to start now? But then also, how can we like make that impact within the community? So it was very impactful. Like, we had like parents show up that like they don't typically show up for like some events, or like, depending on schedule or whatever. But like, I had kids like last minute in class, they were like, hey, Mr. Bowman, can I call my mama? And I'm like, you just want to get out of class? No. Like, I just want to call my mama and tell her I want to go to the event. So I had told them like, hey, we had an incentive. We had these things called beat points. And I was like, hey, you bring 2 adults, 50 beat points. They were like, I actually think I want to stay. So like, we had parents pull up because their kid was like, no, you need to be at this event. And once you like, and I didn't even notice it while the event was happening, because I was just like so locked in on like presenting and just making sure everything happened. Like, the kids the next day and like some of the adults that were in the room, they were like, yo, like the engagement was crazy. Like, parents were writing things down. Like, we had kids like going back up, like, what did they say? Like, what app did they mention? And like really like writing it down and like Googling it. So like, that really, it was for that intent, like for people to like come here, have this conversation, but like not letting it be the first time, but like being able to take something from that conversation and like being able to apply it as soon as they left out.
And then concept wise, really what we wanted people to take away is that, if you're working, a lot of people will trade their time for money, but that's not how the top 5%, top 1% of the country thinks. They think, how can I get my money to work for me? So, Also, if you just have a bunch of money and put it under the mattress, it's not doing anything. It should be working for you. It shouldn't just be, you know, living rent free under your mattress. It shouldn't be doing that. It should be working for you. And we just wanted families to understand that concept of, hey, if you connect with the right people, if you take the right steps, if you do the correct research, then your money can actually work for you while you're asleep. And we just wanted to make sure they understood that. And then also understood the concept of don't invest what you can't afford to lose. A lot of people think, oh, I put this money in the stock market that's going to pay my rent tomorrow. No, we don't want you doing that. Like, take a little bit of money that you know have set to the side, and put that I'm always like big on mutual funds. I was like, talk to my guy about mutual funds. Put that in there. You're going to see a consistent return if you put it in there for the long term, and just getting them to understand like, okay, this is a way that I can consistently put money away and it will grow over time, dollar cost average, all the different type of stuff, and make a return on that too.
And then I know, like, for me, it's very powerful. Like, so whenever you talk about investing, like, yes, you have like the financial aspect, but then also it's like a real life aspect. So like, not only like when you're investing into something or someone, it's for long term. Like, it's not for like tomorrow. You won't see that. But like, or even like you're investing into achieving some goal, like you're not going to see it in the next week or so. Maybe it might take 15 years. But like, as long as you do 1% every day, like now when you look at it in a year, that's 365% better than what you were. And it's like more like investing itself, like just within our community, it's so much of a mental block that like people like, it's like this big thing, and it's like, oh my God, like it's so daunting. But like when you break it down to simple terms, it's like, okay, let's just invest $1. Like if that's gonna make you like feel comfortable, guess what? If you just do it for 365 days, like that's really what the big aspect is.
Exactly.
And it's like in life, if you can put that consistency and that discipline towards something, that's when you really see like how great you can be in like these great things and this great impact to happen.
One thing I always ask, my favorite question to ask is, who's been ever told that money doesn't grow on trees? And the whole room raises their hands. And I say, whoever told you that was misinformed or they had the wrong seeds. Because if you invest your money for the long term, it will grow. And it's literally like having your own personal money tree. And just that, back to what Stefon said, it shifts the mindset of how we think and how we talk about money.
This is crazy to me. Like, okay. It's so much. Like I'm like I think what's blowing my mind, not really blowing my mind or making me feel like super excited, is the fact that kids are getting this. So I'm wondering, y'all are teaching it at your schools. Have y'all spoken to other schools, or have other schools come to you to ask how they can bring that into their kid program?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We've like reached out, but like we're so big on community. So it's like, for instance, the Mother's Day market, we sent out vendor and like panelists. Like anytime we have an event, we send it out to like the entire network. Unless it's like a school specific event, like the parent night that we had the other night, because we're only at Team Academy right now, like that literally was just for like the teen family. But like if the Mother's Day market, we sent it out to all 21 schools in the network. So we had like within those vendors, like we had elementary, we had middle, we had high school, we had alumni from like college students come back. So like it was a whole variety. But like also it's still like everything is rooted in the Newark community. So like now, like, even if it's a church within the community, that's we want to be there. So like now our push and like moving forward is just doing more events, because like we just want to get the awareness out. We want to create more of an impact. And again, that like aspect of 1% better, like if we could do one event here, do another event over there, and then like eventually like we get that ball rolling, next thing you know, like now more and more people are really talking about financial literacy, and like that's the impact we want. And if we can do it as consistently and as many times as we can in Newark, like now you're looking at like a whole community. Like Newark is powerful. Like, I've learned that. I've been very appreciative living in Newark because, like I'm a South Carolina do or die. Like I'm from there. I'm the country boy. Everybody knows that, like, yeah, you're not from here, but like Newark is home for me at this moment. I feel like I'm home. So like for me, it's like this big task, and like I'm just trying to do, like, we're trying to do our part to actually make that impact, and like again get the ball rolling to where like now like it's bigger than us. Like we want to do our part, like pass the baton, like, hey, like, look, hey, you do this, imagine, and like eventually over time, that's what we want to see.
And I think the great thing too is that now we're expanding too. So now, while Stefon's in Newark, at KIPP and everything, I'm in Trenton. So before the messaging was, okay, we're trying to make sure that all of Newark has the skills to manage their money for the rest of their lives. Now it's all of New Jersey, and then from there, it's like where else can it go? Because really, it takes its own. All we have to do is get a couple of these testimonials, put somebody on camera and say, "Oh my gosh, I like this." Literally, happened where one of the students was like, I was spending all this money at the corner store, didn't realize it. And then after a couple lessons with you guys, I had looked up and saved $200 by just not going to the corner store as much. And those testimonials tend to feed themselves, and other people say, I want that for my kids. That's which is how it should be. So we're just seeing where this goes.
That's awesome, Sauce. I remember, I can't remember what year this was, but I remember we did a program. It was with the whole, I think, 7th grade class. It was either 7th grade, no, they did it with each class. And pretty much they came down during their enrichment period. They were all given jobs. They were all told how many children they had. Then once they came downstairs, when they found their income, they were told, okay, you have to make sure you buy insurance. You have to make sure you get a car. You have to make sure you buy groceries. It was like a game, and they were in the gym. They had to go all these different stations. And I remember when they came to buy a car, you had some that just picked the most expensive, cool-looking car. Then you had some that really looked at the cost of the car and looked at their budget and broke it down. So then at the end of the game, you had some kids, they were very defeated because they realized, I don't have enough money to buy groceries, but I still got to get insurance. And the teachers randomly walked up to me and gave me a car to have a flat tire, so I have to fix that, and I don't have enough money to fix that. So it really gave them a real world experience, but at the same time, when we wrapped up at the end and we asked the kids what they think, it was funny, some of their reactions. Like one child actually said, I'm not having any kids because they're too expensive. And then one girl was real talk, was like, I'm going to be more cognizant of what I asked my mom and dad for, because life is expensive.
Yeah, real. And especially now, because like we have like kids, like I got like cheerleaders that like they are like world national champions, and it's like, yo, cheerleading fees can cost, like AAU basketball costs, and like I have like we're teaching athletes, so it's like, hey man, like listen, if you can think I'm crazy all you want, but like if you look at needs versus wants, you go ahead and keep asking your mother for all the brand new Jordans. You want breakfast every morning. I'll wait till the spring. Let's see if you go. Let's see if you go on that trip. Let's see. Like you go, and I just leave, and we leave it at that. And then eventually we say it like 1 or 2 more times, and they like, hold up. You right.
And Brian, I think what the powerful thing about what you had just said too is those experiences. I mean, I think any of us thinking back on our school, or our time in school, we may not remember every single particular lesson that was taught. But it's the core experiences that we do remember that, inform who we are today. And that's what we're trying to create at scale for our kids, where they can, even if they don't get every single thing that was said in every single one of Mr. Bowman and Mr. Roberts' class, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, they're going to be ready to make a decision and then think back to, you know what, I just got this check, but I'm going to take 10% of it and just put it aside and not touch it. I'm going to take another 10% and put this in, a mutual fund or a Robinhood account, or, play around the stock market. But to look back and have these experiences inform those decisions, or, oh, that's what Mr. Bowman was talking about when, he was talking about save 10% for rainy day. Oh, that's what he talked about with, this is a need, but this is a want. So I can hold off on this for a little bit. We know that eventually it's going to click, and the more places kids are able to hear it from, the more likely they're able to execute on those things.
And it's so important. Parents, let's say you are good on your money. Are you talking to your kids about money? Are you talking to your kids about things or how to spend money? Like I'll never forget, was one time I wasn't the parent, because financially I couldn't do it, but I never saw the point of buying Jordans. I never did. So it was one time I was looking at, no, don't do that. And like even to the point I almost went, I remember telling my kids, I'm gonna buy my first pair of Jordans. And when I went to go see the cost, I was like, because I even went to you, Juggy, one time and wanted to buy shoes. But I was like, I could not do it. But even with my son, I remember one time wanting to splurge a little bit on some shoes. And he looked at me and he said, "That's not cost effective." And I was, oh, okay. Because we and him had conversations.
Right.
He understood, well, we have to pay for this. So you can't get this and that because we have this going on. So parents, have those real conversations with your kids so they understand we can't pay for everything or pay for certain things. Or if you want to do this, then you can't do this. It will really help them be more cognizant about their money and just so much more I want to talk about on that. And but I want to also share another experience for those of you who are in. Oh, let me clarify one thing that Jackie just said. I did not go to Claflin, but he thought I went to Claflin.
I did.
No, I
but
did
see,
not.
we just nice, like you know, Claflin. We visionaries. We are very welcoming. Like if you come around, if you good, you know, you might as well. You might as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you are on the hilltop high. You know, shout out to Orangeburg, South Carolina.
Yes, because I broke the mold where my mom and dad both graduated from HBCUs and I graduated from PWI. So it's not my fault though. FAMU was tripping.
We're not hating. We're not hating.
Yeah,
we're not hating. We're not hating.
So, but I do want to bring up for those of you who are in South Carolina, they do have this curriculum that you can use in your class. It's called Next Generational Personal Finance, ngpf.org.
Yeah.
And I want to share real quick before I ask y'all some more questions, an experience I did with my kids. But I can't remember. It's called Spin. And it literally has them. They have to get a job. They have to pay bills. And they go through all these
real
different
life scenarios.
This is a real life scenario, but it's like a video game. And some of my kids were very upset. Like one girl admitted that she went for the burger because it was less expensive. She didn't have enough money. But because she got the burger, she got food poisoning. And she didn't have insurance. So that was like a jab at her pocket.
That game is a humble experience. It will humble you.
It's very humbling. So between that and there was another thing where they had to go through as college students. So one girl admitted, I don't understand how college students, they got to turn up. This thing is expensive.
She don't know. You will learn your freshman year. Trust me.
Exactly. So it was just one of those things where and I don't know how accessible. I know for us, as long as we took a course with someone, we had access to lessons. So it's definitely from somebody in the building if you can work on that. But I just having, and I've even seen math teachers. I cannot think of her name right now, but she was with me at Longleaf Middle. But she had the kids get a job where they were working for someone in the building doing something. But they also had to have a budget. They even had to like break down their bills. They had to interview for these jobs. But the fact that she was incorporating her math lesson, and it doesn't have to be a math thing. This could be a social studies thing. It could be an ELA thing. It could be anything. Just teaching them financial skills and I like how you make them go home and have discussions with their parents, but you also provide workshops for the parents to come in and learn information from you. So have y'all received any testimonials from your parents? I know you talked about your students.
Yes. We have like strong, like me and Winston, like we're very personable with the parents. But like parents come up and tell me like I have Miss Bowman, thank you so much. Like, boy, you better tell your girl, you better tell your boy, I'm not buying nothing. I'm gonna tell him these versus what. So like we get that all the time. Within our network last year, they interviewed a couple of our parents before. So like, slowly but surely more and more awareness is going, but like we're just trying to like kickstart it. So like, we're screaming out luxury is teachable. Like, hey, make sure you following the page. And then also it helps us like be more responsible and like putting up content. Cause like also we are teachers and like, our schedules are crazy. Like, we have life happening, but then also it's like, hey, we got this responsibility, like, to the community. Cause like the community wants it, they need it. So like more and more is bringing the best out of us. So it's almost, it's a never ending circle. And like, we just keep feeding into it. And like, we just want this avalanche, like just continue.
Yeah.
All right. So I've been putting up their social media, so definitely make sure you're following them. If you haven't already, added them and follow what they're doing, because what they're doing is pretty awesome. I just realized I haven't put up my social media, so there's me wherever you can find me. I guess what is your next session? Do you already have it planned?
It's
it's
I think we have one. I know, like within our school calendar, we had the one scheduled earlier this week for parent night, and then we have like the Mother's Day market, and then there's like one more financial literacy night. But like also we are kind of we're free to like come in and like we've done like a presentation at a church or whatever. So like our thing is just like getting out into the community. So like this is like the first podcast we've ever been on. So like so like we're open to it because like also it's bigger than us. Like our thing is like we want this information and like this is like just this message of like in financial literacy, like just getting better at it, just like starting the process, just like 1% it better, like have that one conversation. Because a lot of people, like we had at the investor night, we had like kids, we had like a bingo game where you had to like go and like read certain things off a bingo list and you had to get the signature. So like we had like I had some of my coworkers come up to me, it was like, yo, like we had fathers talking to kids and like that wasn't their kids, and like they were having full-blown conversations about like the things on the paper. So it's like that's really what we're trying to push. And like so any event that we can host, like we're just kind of like if we get the space, because like naturally like we're in 2 school buildings, but like every school building it could always use more room. So we can't like with the school calendars is like just so many conflicts. So like if it's something that's like if we can make it happen, like we're kind of open to it. So
are y'all also open if someone wanted to come to you and ask, how can I start this at my school?
I mean, why not?
Okay, that's awesome sauce. So this is way off script, but in script. The fact that y'all are male teachers in the classroom warms my heart. I want to say the last time I checked the statistics, it's like less than 1% are Black male teachers. So I want to ask y'all, what made y'all want to be a teacher?
You want me to tell my story first or yours?
No, you go ahead and tell yours first.
So my family is like full of educators. So like I grew up like when school was not in school, I was at a school. So I like grew up in a school, like that's just been like my whole life. So like growing up I was like I'm never gonna do this a day in my life. Tenfold got to Claflin, went in, and before I knew it I was an education major, and I was like I'm gonna just do it just to see. And like I remember like my first class, and that was like the first class that didn't feel like a class. So I ended up in the program called Call Me Mister. So I am a Mister. So I'm one of those. And if you don't know, Call Me Mister is a scholarship program based in South Carolina for Black males going into education, founded at Clemson University. So I'm a Mister. So I started off teaching. Teaching is all I've done. So I've taught 2nd grade, I taught 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, all the way up to 8th grade. I taught ELA, math, my favorite financial literacy now. So yeah, that's how I got into education. This is year 11. Yeah, low key, I'm an OG. Low key.
Yeah, you are.
Low key.
Before I ask you, Winston, that's what I talked about. My former students. Shout out to Tony Richbo. Tony's a Call Me Mister. He graduated.
Really?
Newberry.
Newberry.
So, and we talked about the Call Me Mister program. And my thing that got me about Tony was the fact that he didn't even see education on his radar.
Me either.
Somebody recommended him for the teacher cadet program at Ridgeview High School. Didn't know who recommended him. He said once he got in that class, he was hooked and he could not walk away from it, which is super dope. So that's a cool connection right there.
We're big kids. I think like the Mister thing. I think I think Winston could have probably been a Mister too, but like I think like what makes us unique and like just being a Black male educator, like some of us are like big kids. So like when I'm in front of the kid, like you can find me in the I'm always with kids. So like I laugh, I joke, but like they also know like I'm playful, but when it's time for like academics, like I hold the bar very high. I don't tolerate like disrespect. Like you gotta like carry yourself in a certain way. Like they know I'm big on that, but like it's always been consistent. Like no matter where I've been teaching, and like they appreciate that. And it's never like an attack on you. Like nah, like I see you. Like some of you boys, like you can't sit down. Well, me either. But guess what? You still gotta get that under control. Like like you still gotta tighten up. Like I get that, but like okay, you don't like math. Okay, like. I don't like school lunch sometimes, but guess what? You still at school. So like, what you gonna do about it? Like, so that's kind of been like the thing I guess as a male teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I think for my story, I'll share it from the context of the importance of black male recruitment. Because I know it's kind of I think that can be the question within the question, really.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at Morehouse, there was a workshop that one of the larger charter school networks came on campus and did a session on and everything. And I was like, okay, let me just peek in here and see what they're talking about. And I walked out of there and said, hell no, I'm not going into education. Not doing it. No, never.
Look at you now.
And I came in also thinking like I'm going to be a lawyer. I watched Law and Order. I was on mock trial. I did debate class. Like I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm studying political science here. Like, and I walked in there and I was like, yeah, this whatever they're talking about in this session. No, that's not going to do that. After working at a law firm after graduation, fantastic experience as a white collar litigation and telecommunications law firm in DC. It was a small law firm. The people had started from big law and created their own small law firm. I was thinking like, this is probably as good as it's going to get. Mm-hmm. And for me to even get to be in that law firm seat, I would have to go and work for a big law firm, as an associate for probably 5 to 10 years to get that experience to bring that back to the smaller law firm. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, okay, how can I make more of an impact on the front end of the criminal justice system than the back end?
Oh, wow.
Instead of, keeping rich white folks rich, just, keeping it real. So how can I, what can I do instead? So that's where education came in. This is year 9 for me in the classroom. So I was teaching, 8 years at the time. But I think what I noticed and in reflection, realized that at that session, if somebody at Morehouse had said, hey, you can still, make good money, you can still wear your suits, you can, command a lot of respect, you can start your own business and become a national authority on a certain, subject and have an Ivy League master's degree waiting for you. If that was the pitch that was given to me, as a, sophomore at Morehouse, I would have been like, well, wait, tell me more about that. Mm-hmm. And I think when we're talking about recruiting black male educators, we've got to look at all of the opportunity and all the innovation that can happen within education. I mean, there's so many problems that are in our education system. And I don't think it's controversial to say that there's a lot of problems in our education system. Mm-hmm. But any entrepreneur, any business owner, anybody who has a mind for business knows that where there's problem, there's opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I think when looking at our education system, if we can frame it that way as there's a lot of problems here, this is a space ripe for innovation, and mm-hmm. education is a space where we need people with big, innovative, game-changing ideas to come and bring those here. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a way to frame it to black males who could be potential educators, because I don't often hear people saying, I've always wanted to be a teacher. It does happen. It does happen, but I don't hear it often. I don't hear it often. So if we know that up front, then let's just reframe the conversation of, hey, let's go out and recruit these people to say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about going to the classroom for this stint of time to be able to figure out how you can make it better? Mm-hmm. And I think that's a much better winning sales pitch of, yep, you won't make a lot of money. You're going to be overworked, underpaid, and the kids are going to be bad. But this is a mission and you got to do it because you're here for the people.
And get them test scores too.
Right. Test scores. Right.
Get them test scores.
But it's a much better sales pitch, I think, than what I just mentioned before. And I think that's what we need to start focusing on in terms of recruiting more of us into the profession.
And I love how you said all that, because at the end of the day, when I think about even us talking to, when I've seen certain things in my students, my black males, I'm thinking about one in particular, Amari, if you're watching, hello. I remember telling him, I think you should be a teacher. And of course, he was like, But it was just like one of those things where I don't remember viewing and seeing actively pushing black males into education. It's always engineers, being an artist, being a lawyer, being a doctor, but not teaching them to be, pushing them to be teachers. And Tony admitted the same thing. He was that never piqued his interest to somebody recommended him for the program.
I've always even wondered, actually going through Call Me Mister, why, if there's programs like Call Me Mister, then I don't know why there's not every school district even calling that one program hey, how many teachers you got graduating, or even I've told people hey, if it's in New Jersey, I could only imagine when I was in South Carolina somebody say, hey, you come up move to Jersey, and like we just pay for you to move, and you can literally come make this salary and you come teach. That's how I got to California. And I was like, California? Like, what? You will fly me out for the interview? Like, okay, like I don't even care if I'm not going out there, but like I got out there and I loved it. And that like changed my life, you know. So like different things like that. Like I don't know. Like hopefully that changes. Like because
I'll add to that. You know, the Center for Black Educator Development, they're doing a lot of interesting, you know, programs and everything like that. I just came back from the Black Male Educator Convening in Philadelphia. So, I mean, it was a fantastic conference of, you know, all these Black male educators. They had, you know, not Toni Morrison, Angela Davis, who was there, Chris Emden, the real Miss Abbott. Like they had a lot of folks that were there doing these panels and everything, but talking about how we get more Black male educators, how we recruit them, and how we help develop them and support them as well too, because, you know, you have a lot of just teachers in general that are leaving the profession, and you know they're doing a lot of interesting things at the Center for Black Educator Development to help recruit and retain more Black educators.
So I'm going to put their social medias up again to make sure that you're following them and tune into the awesome, dope things that they're doing. And again, educators, professors, anybody who mentors anyone, we have to get to a place where we offer education as an option, as a profession to our Black males, especially if you see how they work with other people. That's why I mentioned that young man, Amari. When we used to do tutorials in our class, in our AVID class, and the way he could break things down that I couldn't sometimes break things down, I was like, dude, I need you to look in education. Of course, he wasn't feeling that. But again, I thank y'all so much for tuning in to our podcast. This is episode, I have a feeling this is going to be the last one for season 1 because I'm tired and I got other stuff I got to do.
We are the closers. Look at that.
You're doing great work, Ryan.
Look, Kobe Bryant. Look, man, listen, that's how you do it. Fourth quarter, that's who you need.
Yeah, so I was
lit. You are lit. You are lit right
now. We are good. So we will definitely start again in January. For those of you who have been following me on social media, you know that I'm in the process of taking pre-orders for my first children's book, first children's book, A Blessing for the World. Be on the lookout for that. Also Reverse, my first middle grades novel, is also up for pre-order. Both of those will be out. Blessing for the World will be out in January 24th, but I'm taking pre-orders now. And then Reverse will be out February 10th. And I'm taking pre-orders for that too. I will talk about that on another day. But thank you for tuning in. Please know that this will be up on Facebook for the next 24 hours. And then after 24 hours, I will take this down, but I will put up the YouTube link for you to view. Please show this to other educators. See how you can spark this within your schools. And it doesn't have to be educators. If you're community leaders, like I'm a community leader, I work with young girls outside of the classroom. So I'm trying to figure out how I can incorporate and do something with them every other meeting. Churches, however we can get people to get better about our money, because at the end of the day, y'all, if you don't know, you can't grow. And in order for us to grow, we have to learn. So pulling in whatever experts we can. We can watch TikTok videos all day long, but are we doing something to help us add to our pockets? Literally. So let's do that. Thank y'all again for coming. Greatly appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Appreciate it. And you know, like if people in Newark area, you need us, hit us up.
Which I forgot to mention. I don't know who's from who, but my pastors, one is from Newark and I think one is from Trenton.
For real? We need to know them. We need to know them.
Down Newark. I want to say
we need to know them. Are they watching? Are they watching tonight?
I don't know, but I have to let them know, and I have to send them the link and let them know. But y'all,
got you.
So definitely. But when you kept saying Newark, I was like, that sounds familiar, and I was like, I think that's where my
Brick City, man, Brick City.
Yeah. So thank y'all so much.
Appreciate it.
Y'all have
Thank you for having us. Thank you,
Ryan.